Hello and welcome to Offsiders. The spotlight has been on football in Australia this week. Ange Postecoglou's homecoming and some Matilda stars drew more than 100,000 spectators to a celebration of the sport in Melbourne. But the scenes on the Central Coast last night topped it all. Entering injury time, Melbourne Victory looked to have the A-League title sewn up. But you can never count out the Mariners.
Tens of thousands tonight in Gosford as their side chase back-to-back championships and a historic treble.
Looking really good, the visitors here tonight. Valadon back outside. Garrier! Oh, talk about unlikely sources. Jason Garrier. As here's Barcelous with Nisbet, the comeback, Edmondson! And the Mariners have done it! It's stoppage time! To the Mariners, Nisbet, Barcelous, the comeback! Miguel DiFrizio! Off the South bench, and quite possibly into the history books with Farrell. The flag stands down, Edmondson is through, Nisbet's in the middle, Edmondson to finish it! And that's it! The Central Coast Mariners, the fairy tale is complete, and the celebrations can begin. Champions of Australia, the Central Coast Mariners 3, Melbourne Victory 1.
They were wild scenes, weren't they, on the Central Coast? I'm not sure many in Gosford got too much sleep last night. 3-1 was the final score in that A-League Grand Final. It was the 19th A-League Grand Final. Our panellists this morning, Roy Masters, good morning. Caroline Wilson, good morning. And joining us from Sydney is Simon Hill. Simon, it was definitely a fairy tale result for a team that never, ever gives up. Why was it a fairy tale?
Morning to you all, by the way. Yeah, absolutely cracking night in Gosford. A fairy tale for the Mariners because not just back-to-back championships for arguably, well, probably the smallest club in the competition, but also they've won this unbelievable treble, the first Australian team in history to win 2 domestic trophies and 1 on the regional stage in Asia, which of course they did a couple of weeks ago with the AFC Cup, which is up against some of the top teams from the rest of the continent. So to win the championship, keep the home fires burning whilst all the while doing 100,000 kilometres of travel backwards and forwards to various points on the globe is absolutely remarkable, and they deserve all the plaudits they get this morning, particularly their coach, Mark Jackson, who has only been in the job since the start of the season. 3 trophies, brilliant.
So let's have a look at the goals, Simon. Victory scored through Jason Garrier about 5 minutes after half-time. It was 0-0 at half-time, and you thought it was going to be 1-0, and this shock result, Victory obviously finished third on the table after the season. Tony Popovic was 6 minutes away from winning his first ever A-League title in his 5th final, and then this happened.
Yeah, Mariners just seem to find a way. They've done this so many times this season. It looked for all money as though Victory were going to win it. But you just can't write this team off. They've got such a collective spirit. Ryan Edmondson and Miguel DiFrizio, 2 players who came off the bench. DiFrizio becoming the youngest ever player to score in an A-League Grand Final at just 18. And then this just setting the seal, the icing on the cake towards the end from Ryan Edmondson. A young English striker who was playing for Carlisle United in the far north of England at the start of the campaign. So quite the fairy tale for them, and so nice that they can celebrate with all their fans at home in Gosford.
Caro, it wasn't that long ago that the A-League was selling grand finals. In fact, they sold last year's to Sydney, so Mariners had to play the last year's grand final and win it against Melbourne City. So that was they've won 3 titles. That was their first ever at home in Gosford.
It's cost them a lot of money, and we know the A-League are in dreadful, dire financial circumstances, and I don't think they've got the best TV deal either with Channel 10, by the way, but that was worth more, Simon, surely, than money can buy, to see those scenes in Gosford.
The scenes of... Sorry.
Go on, Simon. Go on, Simon. These scenes are just... I mean, they put a smile on your face. You don't have to be a football fan.
They're extraordinary, and you know this sort of underlines why in our code of football we have this home advantage for a grand final, and why the fans fought so hard to reverse that sale to Sydney over 3 years, and it was gone after just one season. You know, we're not the AFL and NRL, which you know has big supporter bases. So you need those home fans to make the atmosphere. And also it's something unique in our code as well, that places like Gosford can hold grand finals. They can't do that in the other codes. So, it was something worth fighting for, and those scenes last night underlined exactly why.
The scenes of unbridled joy that we saw demonstrates how important it is for the people of the Central Coast to actually have a football team. This is a region as big as Gosford, and yet they didn't have a football team at all. It was John Singleton who had the rights to the Central Coast Stadium, tried to get an NRL team there, joined the board of then the Football Australia, got a team there, put $1 million into it. Now, sure, they've had a lot of problems since with unpaid tax bills and gimmicks such as Usain Bolt playing for them, but nonetheless, happy to you, Singo, this morning for what you've done for that district that you love so much.
Yeah, look, John Singleton did a great job in the early days. As you've pointed out there, it wasn't entirely altruistic towards our code of football. He wanted an NRL team there. But, we've been the beneficiaries of John and others wanting to get a team in a professional league on the Central Coast of New South Wales. And that team has put the region not just on the map in Australia, but, globally as well. As I said, with that success in Asia, they are the smallest club in the competition. But given their success in the AFC Cup, which incidentally earned them about $2.5 million, they may well be the richest club in the A-League next season, which is ridiculous, really. But, yeah, they've been a big success story. They do things the right way. They develop young talent and then they sell it on for money, which is then reinvested in the academy for the next generation. So it's a model that most clubs in the A-League, I think, will follow. Some already are.
Caro, pitch invasions in the A-League haven't always been happy scenes, but they were just incredible last night. What does it say about a little community when you've got the fans buying memberships no matter what? We've seen the success. You mentioned Gosford earlier. I think you meant Geelong, like the same area, but we've seen the success with Geelong, Newcastle in the NRL. Obviously, Tassie would probably look at that and think, yep, we can build something similar in the AFL.
Well, this is exactly what Tasmania's looking at. Geelong have become the AFL's only regional club, really, out of 18 clubs, is the destination club in the AFL. I love the way you call it football, Kel. I'm sorry. I'm calling AFL football.
Right.
Roy's got his views as well, but
yep.
It's exactly why the A-League should never have considered selling this massive game. And I'd love to ask Simon, though, where you think they sit now, because the product is clearly brilliant, but the TV deal is not, and the finances of the governing body are not.
Well, thanks for having to go at the TV deal for the network that I work for. It's the best deal that the game could get, because that was the only money that was on the table. And, Channel 10 and Paramount Plus, in my opinion, do their very best, and they do a good job with it. And the question remains that if this is not the TV deal that the APL and the clubs wants, then what else is on the table? And at the moment, there isn't anything. So, I've seen lots of coverage attacking the TV deal. I'm not sure that's a smart idea to attack your biggest investor, which Channel 10 and Paramount Plus is. The game has some problems. There is no doubt about it. There has been a lot of financial largesse at the APL spent on things that they probably shouldn't have spent them on. And they've got to start again, almost from scratch and, pare the league down and try and hunker down to prepare and make a better plan for the future. But certainly having a crack at the league's biggest investor is probably not the smartest thing to do.
OK, Simon, what sort of pass mark do you give Ange Postecoglou? He's just wrapped up his first season as a manager, as a coach in the EPL. Tottenham Hotspur finished 5th. 3 hours after their last game, can you believe this? They jumped on a plane, headed to Melbourne for this exhibition game against Newcastle on Wednesday night. I was one of the 75,000, I think it was, that was at the MCG. They went undefeated in their first 10 games, Simon. A disappointing finish to it. What do you make of his first season in charge?
Yeah, look, it's been okay. I think he certainly gets, excuse me, a pass mark. But Ange himself said, you know, they've got a long way to go. They finished 8th the season before Ange arrived. They finished 5th this year. They've got into the Europa League. They started very well. They were top of the table after a handful of games. And, you know, a lot of people here were saying, oh, he's going to win the Premier League. Well, the Premier League is the most unforgiving sporting competition in the world. And he got some injuries. Son Heung-min went off to the Asian Cup for a month, wasn't really the same player afterwards. But he's got a base to build on for next season. I think they will improve again next year. So it's the first building block. And as I say, I think he certainly gets a pass mark. But the fans were a little bit frustrated, I think, that they tailed off towards the end of the season. So he'll be looking to bring in some, some new players during the off-season, I think, and do better next year.
Simon, you're a hard marker. I mean, 8 teams out of 17 make it the final in the NRL. It's 8 out of 18 in the AFL. And you can't even give a bloke a pass, and he's come 5th out of 20.
We gave him a pass.
Well,
I mean, OK, I'd give him a merit or a credit or even a low distinction.
Well, Roy, I'm sorry, we don't have finals in football apart from in this country. So that doesn't really work over in the UK and Europe. But as I said, I think he gets a pass mark. There's been success of sorts. But Ange is a coach who loves to win trophies. And he normally does, and he's not managed to do that this season. So,
and he did get very snitchy towards the end, didn't he?
He did get a bit snitchy towards the end.
The Mark Daw coaches on their snitchiness.
No, but he was
0 out of 20.
But he was the sort of face of international soccer there for a while.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And then in my opinion, if he wins some silverware, if he gets his hands on an EPL trophy, Simon, that is the greatest success in Australian sport in my mind. But finally on soccer, we'll call it Caro, because we're going to get to the other codes very shortly. What did we make of the Aussie teenage sensation Nestori Irankunda making demands to play for the Socceroos this week? So he played in the A-League All-Star game on Friday night. His future is really bright. He's heading to Europe to play football, but he's threatening to play for another country if Socceroos coach Graham Arnold doesn't start picking him.
As of now, I'm not too sure on how things are going to go. I haven't been called up for a few of the squads now. I'm still thinking on what I'm going to do in the future, national level, so we'll see. Yeah, I'm still eligible for Tanzania, also Burundi as well. But obviously it's a dream of mine to play for the Socceroos, and if the opportunity comes again, then hopefully it comes sooner and I'll take it.
So does Graham Arnold hear that, Simon, and say, sure, I'll pick you now, Nestori?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's the smartest thing for a teenager to be having a crack at a national team coach of a country that you want to play for. But I can understand his frustration. You know, there was all this hoo-ha about his non-selection for the Olyroos. I don't necessarily think Football Australia handled that particularly well. But his chance is going to come. You know, he's a big star in the making. He's off to Bayern Munich, as you rightly reported. And he's going to be a mainstay of the Socceroos team for years to come. And, of course, they announce a squad over the next few days to play the 2 World Cup qualifiers against Bangladesh and Palestine. And I wouldn't be surprised if Nestor's name is on it, and then all of this will be forgotten. But, yeah, it's probably typical of his confidence that he will speak out, but I don't know whether that was the smartest move.
And he didn't need to do it, did he? Because surely he'll get picked this week in those squads, as you said, for the World Cup qualifiers coming up. Thank you, Simon. We're going to leave you to drown your sorrows after Melbourne City's loss in the FA Cup final.
City.
Sorry, Manchester City over Manchester United. How can I forget that wrong? I was going to play the vision, but for you, I'm going to let you go. In a weekend of celebration for Australia's Indigenous athletes, and one superstar got a very special send-off. Our longest-serving Matilda and proud Noongar woman Lydia Williams will head to Paris to finish her international career. But on Friday night, a packed crowd at Melbourne got their chance to say thank you. See you next Sunday.
So the Marvel Stadium gets the chance to acknowledge the fantastic career of Lydia Williams. At 36 years of age, 103 caps, 5 FIFA Women's World Cups.
Her impact and contribution cannot be overstated. Fair to say, Lydia Williams leaves the game in a better place than she found it. An immense career and one of the game's absolute absolute best.